Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host. I'm so glad to have you back listening or watching, if that's the case, to the podcast. We appreciate you doing this. We got a great guest today, Mark Rickert, who happens to be a very good person, a friend of mine, and as well as a business colleague. We met through teaching. I was a teacher at his KW Market Center, and came up after class. He was, former military, and I come from a military family. And in any case, just it's an instant, brothers from another mother. That's the best way I can put it. So first off, Mark, I'm so glad you're here, man, because I get to spend time with you again. And I love your life story, and I appreciate you taking your time to share, your story and how you got into this crazy brokerage business. So first off, thank you.
So yeah, it's great to see you, Gary, and great to be back with you. Always a absolute pleasure to be hooked up and conversing with one of my favorite guys in the world, Gary. And by the way, I'm going to make it out your way because I have some friends that have moved out there, some very close friends that were clients, and so we'll be making it out your way, definitely.
Awesome. Let me know. We'll do a hike up in literally, I'm looking right now in Shenandoah National Park, and there's all kinds of trails. And I grew up around here, and it'll get you in shape really quickly.
Yeah. That's great.
So, hey, if you wouldn't mind, Mark, and everybody listen, we've got, investors on, we've got, agents and brokers from all over the U.S. and Canada, and even, I think, close to 50 countries now. But I've learned in the past that if you can share the beginning, it provides context. So when we get in later on to what you're doing now, it'll make more sense. And I want people to understand, everybody listen, this is one you really want to just turn off all other distractions, because I know Mark's story and you're going to get ready to hear it. One of the most impressive stories I've ever heard, life story. Mark's a gracious person. He's overcome, adversity and obstacles like a lot of us have, but this is very compelling. So be inspired, allow yourself to be open and listen and learn. And if you wouldn't mind, Mark, just go ahead and start at the beginning, because I think people are going to learn from that and, of course, be inspired,
Well, thank you so much. And again, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to talk with all your listeners, whether it's on a podcast they're listening or they're actually watching. It doesn't matter. My first thing that I write in my Franklin planner, yes, I use a Franklin planner. I'm old school, the Monarch size, 8.5 by 11. First thing I write of 8 things is being, there you go. They're great. Being of service to others. I didn't always do that, but for years now, that's the first thing I write. It just keeps me centered. And so I feel like my job here today is to help be of service to your audience and to you, and by being vulnerable and sharing some of my story. So I don't want to, I have a lot of, I go into juvenile hall on Mondays, kids that were locked up, kids that are locked up, I should say. I go to 2 cottages. I go to the boys' cottage. Some of them are over 18. And then I go into the girls' cottage, and at 4:00, I was there yesterday. And the reason that I do that is I was also locked up multiple times as a kid. And so I go in and do character development with them to try to talk with them about, up from the ashes. Yes, we can be different than we see ourselves. And that's the key to this. So I did some bullet points last week for them. I'm just going to go through, this will be bullet points of my story of my life, part of it. And so I'm going to get through those, because if I went through the story of each one, we would be here for hours. And I know that everybody's got better things to do. So here we go. So some of my story goes like this. I came from a broken home. My mom and dad got divorced when I was between 2.5 and 3. I don't exactly recall. I was with a single mother in the 60s. And back then you just didn't get divorced. And so I felt like an oddball as I grew up, with no dad. I didn't see my dad again until I was 15. So I was locked up at 9. and then again at 13 in juvenile hall. I was basically an emotionally disturbed kid. I was a dangerous kid. Not just the garden variety stuff, stealing things. So here's some of my story in bullet point form. I went through physical abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence against me and my siblings, and also my mother for a lot of times. Rage-filled men. We had a car that was lit on fire by one of my mother's ex-con boyfriends, who ended up fathering my half brother. I got into lighting fires. I lit hillsides on fire. I lit dumpsters on fire, and I even lit structure fires, like a large grocery store. I almost killed a boy in school, and I got sentenced at 9 years old. Actually, I turned 10 in juvenile hall and got sentenced to this children's home for emotionally disturbed kids. So I stayed there for 3 years. Then I got released and ended up back in being locked up. I was in San Francisco at that time, and they sent me to a foster home. So at age 15, my mother contracted cancer and she died at 15. I was involved in drugs, alcohol, guns, near brush with prison as an adult, suicide attempts, self-mutilation, a former drug addict and alcoholic. And those are some of the bad things, let's call them, the challenges and obstacles. Now here, let me get to some of the good stuff. With work and lots of people helping me in my life, and also higher power, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's got their own version. But for me, things started changing dramatically, through my life, but it was small changes until I got sober. Excuse me. I got sober almost 23 years ago on August 11th, 2001. I was a high functioning drug addict and alcoholic. I had a very good job, earned lots of money. I don't know how I did it, but when you put a suit and tie on and you're on crystal meth, anything's possible.
Yeah.
That's a dark joke.
Yeah.
So yes, been sober nearly 23 years. I've had business success. I've raised 3 children successfully and a stepdaughter. I'm a real estate investor, a broker, and a small developer. We're doing some development. I've had marital failures. I'm on my 3rd marriage, but this is a keeper. I was not ready for marriage when I was younger. And when I met my current wife in sobriety, so I was a changed person already. And I'm not perfect, and I'm always looking to improve every day. So what does that mean to change? So how's that for a bullet point synopsis, Gary?
That's pretty awesome. I tell you what, extremely powerful. And I know some people out there are listening and watching and nodding their heads up and down because they resonate with that, either through themselves or their family members or friends. And other people have never experienced that, and they're probably in a little bit of shock and awe. But for that group, the latter group, I just want you to know, always have an open heart and an open mind, and be willing to listen and learn, because you never know. When we get messages and teachings from God, you don't know how and where they're going to come from. You just have to be open to them. And I promise you, you're going to learn from this if you're not already. So
that's true. Yeah. A lot of people that are involved in substance abuse, there were times in my life where I say, God, please get me out of this. And I promise to XYZ, fill in the blank. And the time I got sober, this last time I got sober in 2001, because I had multiple attempts at sobriety, wasn't get me out of this, because you couldn't get me out of this. This wasn't a get me out of this thing. This was a suicide type situation. And I said, I hated everything about myself. My morals weren't proper, just all kinds of things. I was had 2 different lives, the business life and then the personal life. And I'm supposedly they're separate, but they're not. In real life, they're not. You should be the person in private that you are in public. That's when character matters. But I told God, I said, if you see fit to allow me to live, because I had I took the rest of the drugs that I had before I got sober. I did not care if I lived or died. And I said, if you see fit to allow me to live, I commit to you to living the kind of life I know you would want me to lead. I didn't know what that meant other than I'm making a commitment. And so I've, to the best of my ability, since August 11th, 2001, I have attempted to do that, endeavored to do that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I, when you mentioned that a moment ago, that it's, we call it deal making, like you're trying to make a deal with God. God, if you help me out, I promise I'll do this.
Right.
I've done that before too. And, there's only one time I really think that worked out for me. And it was actually had to do with my brother, and I needed help with him, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything about substance abuse. I just blank, but I just had this awakening one morning, right before Christmas, and just, it was a message, and it was, go get your brother. And I know this sounds crazy to people who never experienced these kinds of things, but it's real. Very real. It happened. I drove from Pittsburgh to Richmond, in a storm to get him out of his house. And I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just kept praying, dear Lord, just show me the way, tell me what to do, give me the words, give me the actions, whatever. And I promise I'll never turn my back on another human being as long as I live.
Wow.
And I've lived that commitment ever since. And but that commitment part, though, this is what I'm getting to. When you made that commitment, the universe listened in a very big way, because I know what you've been able to accomplish, and the goodness that's come from you from all this. That's the. I mean, I'm going to let you turn it back over to you, Mark, but there's good in everything. It's hard to really grasp this, but everybody listening, I just want you to know this. You can't fight it, because it's one of those natural truths. Is when you've got gratitude, when you can be grateful for the things that have caused you pain because of what they teach you, and how you can use that to share and inspire others going forward. There's goodness in everything. It's hard to grasp. I mean, it took me till I was in my probably 50s to figure that one out. And it took a couple of I always tell people, Mark, God had to hit me over the head several times, but he didn't use a 2x4. He finally gave up, said, I got to use a damn 4x4 on this Wilson kid. He's just not getting it, man.
We're very much alike that way. I always, I used to be embarrassed about being a slow learner. But in these cases like you, I'm a slow learner. It took me forever.
Yeah. So go ahead and take us forward now. So you're, now, was that when you met your wife? Was that in post 2001?
Yes.
August 11th. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. I met Carla. And by the way, my ex-wife is a wonderful person, and she helped raise our three children that we have together. And I give props to her. I was talking to my daughter last night, because she's young and struggling a little bit. She's very accomplished, but pieces of her life aren't kind of where that she wants them to be, like many of our lives, right? So I was talking to her about how wonderful, and the things that my ex-wife taught me that I didn't know at the time, but now I look back and see that she helped me quite a bit. So she was very instrumental in some of my growth as well, just kind of delayed. But I met Carla in 2003 up in Seattle, and my marriage hadn't been really great. I was not. I never did the things that I saw done to my wife to my wives ever. That's just not the way we treat people. And so my behavior was more self-destructive and not having a good moral compass. And so when I met Carla, I said, I was 3 years into sobriety then, and I said, I'm doing this one differently. I'm not being the guy I used to be. Absolutely not. Yeah. And so it's been a really great marriage. We've been together. We just celebrated 17 years of marriage. And, again, So that's how I met her up in Seattle. And it was the first time in my entire life that I ever felt like I found somebody that I don't want to lose. I mean, it's not to say anybody was less important than somebody else, because we're all human beings. My ex-wives are very important people. I still talk to both of them, right?
Yeah.
But I was going to, my moral conduct, my conduct was going to be different this time. Everything about my relationship was going to be different. And because I went to work on myself.
Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto. Okay. How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live. Be ready to take notes and ask questions, because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to realestatewithgarywilson.com, click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care. Yeah. Yeah. And you did in a really big way. So now you're, here it is, August, almost, not quite almost August, 2 more days and close to your anniversary.
Yes.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. July 14th was our anniversary, and August 11th is my sobriety birthday. You're right. A big day.
That's awesome. If you could start to talk about your transitioning into the business you have now. It probably didn't start off as you having a family business you have now. It probably started off maybe just you as a solo agent. But what brought you to that? I'm sure you have tried. You've been in other industries and things like that. But kind of take us through that transition. And I want everybody listening to really pay attention here, because Mark's got a great thing going on right now, with his family. He's helped his son move on to build his own thing. And it's an amazing story of what you can accomplish with this crazy business in real estate brokers and investing. So Mark, go ahead and take it away, Mark. Yeah.
Sure. Well, so my transition in my life, as far as my career goes, after my mom died and I went to the foster family said, we can't deal with this guy, because I tried to commit suicide. It was a young family, and I totally understand that. So the state of California called my father, who is a real estate investor, developer, manufactured home communities, and I hadn't seen him since I was a little baby. I don't remember him. And then I found out I had two brother and sister in Florida. So I move out there, and I just remember looking, go like, I love this real estate. Wow, this is amazing. Just even at that young age, it's like gave me that hope. So that was a fork in the road. So in the back of my mind, my whole life was, I want to be a real estate investor. I had to be. I don't know what, it was something in me. It wasn't to compete with my dad or anything like that. It was it moved me, right? And so, but anyway, so I went to a private school, which was another fork in my road in Florida. By the way, we're the #1 basketball. This is not like trivial. They call Mount Verde Academy. Anybody that's into high school basketball knows Mount Verde Academy. We got Ben Simmons that came out of Mount Verde, D'Angelo Russell, NBA players. And I played basketball there because I wanted to be different. When I moved there, it's like nobody knows me. Of course, my mom and my stepmom and dad shipped me off to a boarding school. For me, though, that was great. They just didn't want me around. Yeah. Long-haired, coming in with cigarettes, Bacardi fifths, all kinds of stuff, patchouli oil. Yeah. So anyway, I did well at school, and then I went into the Navy, and I was in the Navy, got out of the Navy, and like, well, okay, now what am I going to do? So I got into high tech, I went to school to get a degree, a 2-year degree in digital circuit design, and I got into high tech, semiconductor industry. And so I was in semiconductor for a long time. And then when I got laid off in semiconductor, oh, by the way, I did a stint with my dad's company for about 5 years selling homes at some of our developments, and I did sales and marketing for his company. But I could not work with my father. He's like a tyrant, and he's a bully, and he's everything you don't want in a boss. Poster child. Not nice. And of course, he would argue, you have sour grapes, but it's true. He had so many people that didn't want to work with him. So anyway, fast forwarding, when I got sober, I got laid off from my high tech company. I was working for a global semiconductor company. How they didn't know I was on drugs, maybe they did, but I got laid off on the third round. And okay, what am I going to do? I've got a big house, California. So I started my own tech company, and I did that for 11 years, and it got acquired. It sounds like a big financial transaction, but it turned out to be not that great. But then I moved to New Mexico, left the Bay Area because that's where my wife's from. She's Native American. She's a Navajo. And so I got sucked back into high tech. I wanted out of it. I did that for a few years, came home and complained like every night. I wanted to do real estate. And she goes, when are you going to stop? My wife's, my wife. She's, when are you going to stop complaining and do something about it? I went, that's great. Good one. So I did. I put a date on the calendar. I said, by December 30th, 2014, I'm out of this, man. And I did. It was December 15th. I said, I'm out. And then we started our company. But since then, it hasn't been all, super smooth. There's been smooth parts, rough parts. You know how it is. This business is up and down. But I found something I absolutely love. I still get fired up every morning to wake up. I'm nearly 65 now, and I'm still excited to go to work. It's not work to me.
It's interesting. I'm thinking back to some of our prior conversations, and we taught class for me that one night, and you were actually showing a property in I'm gathering it was in Albuquerque, or they've been outsourced to Albuquerque. And the picture is starting to kind of unravel for me here. There was a dumpster outside, and you were showing me some of the work that was going on. I'm like, man, that's a massive project. So when you're doing the investing, are you looking for the ones that most people just simply walk away from because they look like, I can't even add all the numbers up? Because I've done that too, and it's actually kind of neat because you come out with a winning show dog, and if you have that vision when you start and you just stick with it, it's going to be problems. I mean, contractors and lumber prices go up, and all of a sudden copper is no longer available, and just all weird kinds of crazy stuff. Insurance rates go up. I mean, you name it, it happens. But you just can't give up. I mean, because if you do, you're gonna lose, right? But if you keep going, it might not be the journey you thought, but I promise you, at the end, you get this beautiful place. I haven't done them all like that, but was that story, or,
Yeah, you actually touch on something very, very important that I learned through sobriety in my life and just pushing myself. So you can see that ice axe right there. And then there's a right there. I got into mountain climb after, I had to find, I needed to challenge myself for something more. On my sobriety birthday, August 11th, every year, I would do something crazy, like jump out of a plane, run a marathon, climb mountains. That's from Mount Rainier in Seattle. I climbed that mountain. But so pushing myself when I was ready to give up so many times, and I was the king of giving up. I don't know if anybody can relate with this. Before I got sober, I gave up. I'd start something, give up. Start something, gets hard, give up. Instead of going through the mush until you get to the other side and having the belief that I'm going to do this, right? And it ties in with real estate investing. Quick story. The dumpster. How about this one? If everybody wants to see the video, If you go to my YouTube channel, Rickert Property Group, Rickert Property Group, there's a video in there of a fire that occurred on one of our duplexes. And Rickert Property Group YouTube. You go scroll down, you'll see me. There's flames and stuff. You can see the whole thing. So I got a call. Most everybody else, and I had nothing but problems with this tenant. Just gobs of things. So I think to answer your question, I love the most ugliest properties, the collapsed roof, the dead cat in the closet. We had to put lime down because it stunk so bad, a hoarder house we bought. But we buy, fix up, rent out, and hold. We don't do the flips because people way smarter than me told me to build real wealth, you have to hold. And I saw what my dad did in buying and holding mobile home parks, right, in Florida. So I think that yes, you have to go through the trudge to get to the end, to get to the good part. And if you either say, I'm not for this business in investing, or I'm going to get through the mucky part to the other side, and I am for this business. And I just want to put one more thing and I'll shut up.
Yep.
I am not a silver spoon daddy, daddy's boy and all that stuff. My dad is extremely successful, but it's let's just say this. I don't want to get into all kinds of bashing, but we don't have a relationship. It's been on and off for my whole life because of the type of individual he is. So you sometimes have to chart your own course, which is what I did.
Yeah. He's, you're not familiar with him until you're right. Yeah. In terms of business and finance, he's extremely successful. But, at the same time, having a nice big yacht is really nice. But how nice is it when you're the only person on it,
That's right. And you're miserable.
Yeah,
and everybody around you is miserable, and nobody wants to be around you because you have all this money, but you're a miserable person that nobody wants to be around. Not for me, man.
Yeah, I agree. The relationships and the experiences in life, that's where the gold is. And sometimes it takes us a while to figure that out. Some people learn it earlier in life than others. And, I had to go through that too. And that was a multiple 4x4 moment, 4x4 lumber. I'm talking about up against my head. So, but all those things I'm grateful for now.
That's a good one. I like that. Can I steal it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Take it. Yeah.
That's a good one, you guys. A 4x4 moment.
Yep. So now the real estate, the properties you've been able to acquire, does that give you sort of a foundation? Like, when you have that foundation, it's like you have the keystone, you got the foundation, then you can build a beautiful, solid, stable building. I know your intention is not to build an empire, but does that foundation give you the confidence to do other things like serving the community, building a real estate brokerage team and helping your son? So talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about the business part first, and then I want you to talk about the philanthropy that you've done and how you serve others also, outside of business,
Sure. So the beginning was all going to be multifamily. It was like, multifamily, mobile home parks. Cause I knew mobile home, but I still know mobile home parks, apartment buildings, all the flashy, sexy stuff. Right. And then I really analyzed, this was before the rates started going crazy. And I thought, what? We're in this incredible low interest rate period. Mm-hmm. And what do you know about commercial loans, Mark? I know that they reset every 3, 5, 7, 10 years. That sounds kind of risky to me, Mark. And I'm going like, do you really want that kind of a stress? And I go, no, I don't. And guess what happened? Rates are have doubled in some cases with some of the multifamily property owners, and they're having to do cash calls. They're having to, dig out of their pocket if they have the money, the capital to put back in. Because maybe the rents didn't keep up with what the interest rate. The banks won't refinance. So what I chose to do, and of course I counsel with my wife. She's got great input. Is we went for 4 units and under instead of my mantra, which was 5 and up. I'm the quad guy, the tri guy, the duplex, the single family homes, 30-year fixed rates on the DSCR loan, debt service coverage ratio, where for those that don't know, that's where the property stands on its own 2 feet in terms of the revenue coming in. It's very much like a commercial loan, but the rate is fixed for 30 years. Wonderful product. So that's number one. That's the type of loan we use. But if we don't, what we'll do first is get owner financing and then do a deal with the owner and then refinance out of that deal into a DSCR loan. And so I don't own these properties in my name. We have a holding company and then LLCs for each of the properties, anonymously set up so that, lawyers that are looking to sue for whatever reason, they're not able to find it. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing some golden nuggets. It's because not only do you play offense, income generation, you also play defense, properly structured. You acquired the properties in a certain way that allowed you to have lower your risk, and then you structured the ownership in a way that further lowered risk. And so my formula has always been, in plain language, I would compare upside potential with downside risk.
Yeah.
In real estate, you can do a lot yourself to mitigate downside risk and increase upside potential. So it's really neat because it's not like the stock market where you buy a stock and you have no control over it. You all you can do is get in or out.
That's right.
In real estate, you have so much control. You can take something. You can take exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Now,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I had a wholesaler approach me last November, and she goes, and I know her. She's like, she's a friend, her and her husband, and they do flips. And so she said, "Hey, Mark, I've got this deal. I don't know if you're interested." I said, "Well, let me go take a look at it." So I went over there. It was like instantly, I'll buy it. I bought there was crap inside. It wasn't a hoarder house, but it was just full of stuff. Corner lot, nice neighborhood in Albuquerque. And we put about 25,000 into the deal, in terms of rehabbing it. And then we put about 65,000 down for the down payment for the DSCR loan. Okay. And that thing's cash flowing. It doesn't sound like a lot, but this all adds up. It's about $700 a month. So the DSCR on that, I think, is 1.34. The lenders want about 1.25 or above. So at that neighborhood, this is the real, everybody's focused on cash flow. I mean, I am too, but when we take into consideration tax advantages, and also the depreciation that you get on off your taxes, but most importantly, the appreciation. That neighborhood's a $360,000 neighborhood. And we put 25,000 into it, and it's going. We got renters in there, and it's going great. The other thing we do, just on an operational stand, we stopped relying on all tenants to do any kind of landscaping or anything. I build that into the rent. That it's higher rent, and I sell it. Hey, you don't have to do anything. We've got our crew that go around and do it, because I got sick and tired. I'm very meticulous. I got tired of going by properties. Weeds are growing and all this stuff. I always tell the tenants, we don't want the property to look like the rental on the block.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I appreciate the simplicity of that your philosophy and your approach to that, because it works. Right. Let's face it. If somebody, my own family, I have family members who pay for everything. I have a membership in a car wash thing nearby, and I like washing my own car, not because I necessarily enjoy washing a car, but it gets me outdoors, and it's a little bit of physical activity, and the thing nice and shiny when it's done, and I made it happen. And half hour later, I'm done, but it's a little bit of therapy for me. But some people don't see it that way, so they'll pay for that. Now, how is your investing in your role as a real estate agent and Carl and the family team, does that play, are the two interrelated, the brokerage and the investing, or is it two separate things, or how does the real estate sales fit into all this?
That's a great question, Gary. And I would say that we are real estate investors and developers first and real estate brokers second. However, the majority of our, well, I wouldn't say the majority, I'd say the revenue from the real estate sales feeds the purchases of these properties, because, as real estate brokers, we get big chunks, depending on what we sell, either no chunks or big chunks or medium, but we always put that money to work. Like, I always feel poor. I mean, we live on, see, some people are like really fun when they go, I don't share a lot of personal financial details, but I do on this one because I want people to know that it's possible. Carla and I live very frugally. We're not like misers at all, but we live between 42 and 52,000 a year. We're comfortable. We can do awesome things. Yeah. And, we have a nice 3,000 square foot home. It's not a fancy place. We're the, remember The Millionaire Next Door, where the book Dr. Stanley, is it Dr. Stanley? Anyway, if you guys haven't read that book, it's about millionaires, and they're, you can have millionaires next to you living in a regular home, rather than everybody thinks they're in these luxury properties, and they're not. They're just regular people driving, 5-year-old cars or 10-year-old cars. But the development side of the house, which is we're have been involved in, we're getting ready to break ground. I bought a lot not far from our house. It's a half acre, so we're going to put a build-to-rent home on that property with a casita built in, a casita, or let's say an ADU attached, accessory dwelling unit. But it's really a true ADU would be detached, but let's just say this is attached, a separate entrance and all that. And we're going to be able to rent both sides out, or a family, we can charge more rent because a family will be there. So, so anyway, the real estate business funds our investor business.
I love it. And
then we have property management too.
You do? Awesome. I did the same thing.
Our own portfolio, and then a handful of select properties for other owners. But they have to meet the grade.
Yeah. Well, plus it gives you, people don't realize this, property management actually gives you another lead source, because you're dealing with owners and tenants, right? And you're dealing with all the other related people, the municipal employees, the utility people, inspectors, insurance guys, appraisers, just list goes on, contractors. It's an excellent way to generate high quality leads.
Yes, it's
Mark,
true.
I apologize. We're almost out of time here, but I'm glad we ended on that note, because it shows you, it really doesn't matter so much, where you start or how you start, as much as you just simply start,
Right.
And you definitely exemplify that. And now you've got a great thing going with Carla. I'm so happy for you. You're leveraging. However, the final message, guys, is not just leveraging real estate sales and real estate investing with each other so you can grow. You definitely want to. It's a magic formula. I've been teaching it for years, and most people still reject it. They're like, well, I don't want to work. I don't want to open doors and blah 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 blah. I don't want to open doors either, but I don't open doors.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't want to do a lot of things in life, but there's when you say yes to something, you say no to something else. When you say no, I don't want to go door knock, then or vice versa. What's happening to your business? This is if you want my contact information, scan that. All the viewers, I'm happy. Anything I can help you guys with, I answer all my texts personally. I don't, have other people doing it, and so feel free to reach out.
Now that QR code, so that's Rickert Property Group, and then your YouTube channel. Is that the same name?
Yes, Rickert YouTube? Property Group. That's correct. Gotcha. If they just type in Rickert Property Group on YouTube, and then what was if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be wonderful. Well, I had something else I was going to tell you. I can't remember. Yeah, that's what happens when you get.
Oh yeah. No, the website, same name, Rickert Property Group.
Yeah, or you could do markrickert.com. It takes you to my website. That's more of a real estate centric website. If anybody has any questions, I'm really an open book, you guys. So if there are resources I can help you with, I've got also a short half-hour presentation on the basics of real estate investing. I don't charge a dime for anything to anybody other than if they decide to invest in Albuquerque or Florida. I'm also licensed in Florida. I grew up there, obviously. Then, I would become their broker to help represent them. That's all I ask if I'm going to help, mentor people. I don't have things to sell.
Yeah. I did the same thing in the early days. That's in fact for about 10 years. That's what I did.
Oh, really?
And I'd say, look, I'll teach you how to invest. Just make sure I'm your guy, Woody, because that's my commissions are how you pay me.
Maybe you taught me that.
It could be.
Probably.
It's funny today, Mark. I don't actually charge anybody a dime for all the training and coaching I do. It comes out of their commission, so that they don't pay unless they perform.
Yes.
So I'm taking the risk.
That's true. That's absolutely true. I agree. But a lot of times it's worth it, right?
It absolutely is. Yeah, the good far outweighs the ungood. So, but in any case, Mark, I just want to say thanks again, and I want to say thank you to you listening here. Guys, leave a review for this one. You have to admit this is one of the golden gem ones. Please leave a review, because your review is what makes the podcast will go around. That's how it all works. And look up Mark Rickert, right? And the Rickert Property Group. Go to the YouTube channel. He's got some great videos. If you're a real estate agent, you want to learn some, go to Mark's YouTube page. I promise you, just watch what he's doing and learn. Okay. And you'll get a lot of it. So
thank you so much. And again, I'm an open book. I come from a mind like you, Gary, of abundance, not scarcity. We give stuff away. Yeah. Like I'll tell you, all that we know. So there's no secrets, because nobody really reinvents the wheel anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I want to thank you so much for having me on your show. It's wonderful.
I appreciate that, Mark, and I agree 100%. And God bless you and Carla and your friends and family there. I can't wait to get back out there. For all the listeners, if you haven't been to Albuquerque, you need to check it out. It's not only a great place to do business and invest. There's a lot of cool things to do there. I can't go over the details, but I'm telling you, if you like the outdoors, you're gonna love Albuquerque. Okay. Yes. And we'll see you. God bless you and your families also, and your loved ones. We will see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.